I'm 23 years old, and this year alone, I've worked with well over 200 individuals, most of whom were over the age of 40. And even though they all have different scenarios, nearly all of them said the same exact thing. I wish I had learned these things sooner. And, I'm not some kind of 23-year-old genius, but I don't believe I have to be. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the best way to gain experience is to borrow it from somebody else. So, not have I only taken these lessons I'm about to share with you from these individuals, but also from direct coaching from six, seven, and even eight-figure earners. So, with that being said, here are four lessons I've been really focused on this year that have exploded my business in the best way possible. And if you see me looking down, that's because I have my notes. But the first lesson, actually, these are in no particular order, but the first lesson I'm going to go over is that success leaves clues. And as I was thinking these out, the one saying that kept coming to my mind was that if you want to know the road ahead, you just have to ask the people who are coming back. And it's even in the Bible, King Solomon tells us history merely repeats itself. It has all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new. That's in Ecclesiastes 1:9. And that's actually a relief. It's a relief to me, and it should be a relief to you. You don't need to create anything new. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. I don't need to create Facebook or Instagram or YouTube in order to use it. I just need to learn how to leverage it, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. But a useful skill that I have learned to go with this, because it's not enough to just know that success leaves clues. The most useful skill to pair with this is called, well, what I like to call it, pattern recognition. If I can just identify certain patterns within the clues that are left, I don't need to follow every single thing that they did. I don't need to produce the same exact results that they did. I can just take the outline and make it to be my own. For example, King Solomon, the one who wrote Proverbs, Song of Songs, and Ecclesiastes, his entire business model is written out, it's laid out in the Bible, and people don't realize it. This man was a trillionaire in today's money. He would have been well over $2 trillion net worth. And his entire business model is laid out in First Kings. Every single detail is not specifically written out, but they do give us the outline. He was essentially a consultant. Being a king himself, he was essentially a consultant for other kings and queens who wanted to model their kingdom like his because he was just doing so well. So what I can do, so this is the example. I'm not going to produce the results of King Solomon because I don't own a kingdom and I don't run a kingdom. I don't want to. But what I can do is I can take the outline, identify specific patterns, well, the principles, and see, well, he did this, this, and this. That may not work directly in my business, but I can use the outline and make it my own to produce similar results. And another example, King Solomon was not meeting with every single person in his kingdom one on one. There's no way he could possibly do that. Instead, what I do believe he was doing is he was running seminars. He was reaching people instead of one on one to many. So, like social media, doing live coaching calls with an entire room of people. That is something we can do that may not produce the exact same results as King Solomon, but it will produce well enough results that it'll sustain our own business. And I kind of went off on a side tangent there, but this is the first lesson. Success leaves clues. In the only skill you need to in order to leverage that is pattern recognition. Now, this is all very easy. It's easier said than done. But the biggest obstacle for me, this may not be for you, but the biggest obstacle for me was that I have these coaches like Jamie Villalobos, Ed Milet, Mark Shelby. You probably don't know Jenna Joe. You probably don't know any of those names. But they're all six, seven, and eight-figure earners, and I've made these people my benchmark, and that's not a bad thing. But at times, I do forget that I'm only 23 years old, and some of these people have been doing business for like 25, 30 years. Uh, so how can I possibly reproduce their results and use them as my benchmark when they've been doing business longer than I have? I cannot. Age is not an excuse to be immature, but it's also not an excuse to do nothing. I cannot manipulate time and try to speed past all the things that I really need to do if I want my results to last the test of time. So the reason this was an obstacle is because I was comparing where I'm at with where this billionaire is at who has been doing business for longer than I've been alive, and that obviously is not a good thing to do. I can use them as my outline, but I can't produce the results they've been doing. That took them 25 years, just in a couple years for myself. So that at least has been for me. And even if you're not 23 like me, if you're 40, in the same way that it's not too early for me to use these people as my benchmark, it's not too late for you as long as we both get to work, right? But that is the first lesson. Success leaves clues, and all you need is pattern recognition. But the second lesson, this is probably my favorite one. Again, these are not in any particular order. My second lesson, the favorite one, is it's about rest. Because this one has been hitting me pretty hard. And the lesson for this is, as much as we want to maximize, or as much as you want to maximize your work to be productive and efficient, you also need to maximize your rest. Because what most people don't realize, especially me, what is that rest is what allows you to work. So if you don't maximize your rest, you're never going to be able to work. And the problem, so I always like to, the lesson and then the problem. The problem is that I think especially nowadays, people are they feel some kind of stress and then they immediately diagnose themselves with some kind of mental disorder, some kind of mental illness, like, or disability, that maybe not disorder, but disability. Oh, I feel stressed. I must be anxious. I must be depressed. And I'm not a doctor, but stress in a reasonable amount and reasonable doses is actually a healthy thing. It's actually has a lot of benefits. When you get stressed during work, the answer is not to just, oh, I need to stop working. I'm getting anxious. The answer is to finish your work and then rest. Stress has its benefits. It should be used to push you forward. It's a motivator. Of course, chronic stress is a different thing, but that's why we have rest. You need to maximize your rest as much as you maximize your work. And I mean, that's why God gave us a Sabbath. People don't realize how intentional Sabbath is, or how intentional God is. He didn't create Sabbath for us to worship him, even though that's what we use it for. It's not for him. He doesn't need us to worship him. It's for our own well-being. It's for our own rest, because rest is what allows people to work. And I found it funny that what I help people with, this was a while ago, what I help people with is wealth enhancement, wealth protection. So a lot of it revolves around retirement. So I know everybody else's retirement goals. I just really wasn't clear on mine. And I figured out why. I was sitting down and I was thinking, I do want to retire. I have a retirement date set. I just don't know what it is. That date is known only by God, because as long as he wakes me up, I got some kind of work to do. But rest is what allows me to do that work. And so Sabbath to me has become that much more important, because I found myself getting burnt out so quickly. I was doing all this work. I was working 12 hours a day for 7 days a week, and I did that for like a month straight, and then the next month I couldn't do anything. And then I was resting. I was like, okay, I'm ready back to get back to work. And then I did the same thing, and then I burnt myself out. And then, I mean, so doing that up and down, it just kills my moment, just kills any kind of momentum. I can never fully get going, because I was going and then I was stopping. I was going, then I was stopping. The rest is what allows you to consistently create and improve your momentum to just burst through the wall that you didn't even know was there yet. Even again, so I always bring up King Solomon. King Solomon even tells us in Proverbs 23:4, don't wear yourself out trying to get rich. Be wise enough to know when to quit, because money means nothing if it costs you your health, right? So even if you can power through the burnout, it means nothing, because you're not going to be here for the long run. Chronic stress is a thing that does diminish your health. So maximize your rest as much as your work. And that is the second lesson. The third lesson, the second one was probably my favorite because I've been learning that one right now. But I think this third one is probably the most important. And this one is that diversification is not about growth. It's about protection. That's really what it's about. Because the reason I bring this one up is because I feel like it used to go viral a lot when these business gurus online would post things like, well, the average millionaire has seven sources of income, so you need to learn a new skill, so buy my course, right? That was their only motivator. So that may be true that millionaires have seven sources of income, but no millionaire got there by having seven different focuses, right? What they did is they reached millionaire status, they earned that status, and then they diversified to protect that status. They didn't get there by dividing their focus. They had one focus, got there, and then diversified. Now, the thing with this is that, of course, you should be diversifying your investment portfolio, but this is something else I deal with on a daily basis. People ask me, how do I diversify my investments? Well, I mean, like, sir, get an emergency fund first, right? You don't have anything to protect. You don't have anything to grow. Get your emergency fund set up first, and then let's talk about growing your assets and diversifying from there, because it's not about growth. It's about protection. And so for me, what I'm doing for my business that has really exploded my business is that diversifying without dividing your focus, that's what it's about. So for me, I'm not saying that you shouldn't diversify until you're a millionaire, because I'm not a millionaire yet, but I am diversifying. What I'm doing is I'm creating different distribution channels. So for me and my business, it's all about financial education, but on the business standpoint, for me, it's about creating more and more channels to distribute financial education. So everything that I do, even though I have a TikTok channel, TikTok page that has about 85,000 followers right now, I've diversified into YouTube, even though I'm not a millionaire yet, to create more channels. But the important thing is that it all has one focus. It leads to my business. So yes, it doesn't need to be a secret. The only reason I have social media is to promote my business and to make myself more findable for other people. And that way, if TikTok ever gets shut down or sold or whatever, I still have YouTube. If YouTube bans me for whatever reason, I don't know why they would, I will also have Instagram, right? But it's not dividing my focus, it's just pushing me towards the same goal. And I really hope that was clear enough, because I do think this is important. You should diversify, but if you have nothing to protect, you have nothing to diversify for. Okay. But the fourth thing is about personal branding. And I was already heading into this with that diversification. I would not have social media if I didn't need it. Because the reason I do need it is because business, the way it used to be done, is that it was all about who you know, right? I mean, that's even still a saying now. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know, right? That's how it used to be done. And that's still true. It's not just who you know anymore, though. It's also about who knows you. Because as crazy as it is, maybe it shouldn't be like this, but it is. Having an audience, having a following gives you instant credibility with people. If I were to say the same thing with 0 followers on my TikTok, it would not get the same results as me having 85,000 followers on TikTok. The only thing is you have to build your way up to that. Because, I mean, this is interesting. Nobody wants to like a social media post if they see that it has 0 likes. Like, I even see myself doing this. I think a video is funny on TikTok and I'm scrolling, and then I see that it has 0 likes, and then it instantly becomes a little bit less funny. It's like, oh, well, it's actually not that funny, right? Because having attention gives you instant credibility. It is the same reason that content creators, even though it appears like they do nothing for an actual living, attention is the most powerful currency right now. And so brands and companies are willing to pay them so much money to put attention from their audience onto their company, right? So that's why it's so valuable, and that's why personal branding right now, it's not just about who you know anymore, it's about who knows you. And like I said, this one's pretty short and sweet. That's really all there is to it. Business is about making, or marketing is about making itself or making it easier for other people to find you. If I can make it so easy for somebody who actually wants my service to find me, I don't need to go out and sell to anybody. I'm just finding the people who already want my services. And if I can continue doing that, not only have I diversified how I market myself, I've also created an unlimited source of marketing which will never die, because even if I am not working, my YouTube channel is still up here. I'm essentially creating time. I'm creating attention that will last with or without me. And that's what it's really all about. And I'm just double checking my notes. I mean, the more eyes you have on you, the easier it is for people to find you who actually want you. You don't need to convince people who don't want your service to want your service. That won't ever happen. But if they can find you online, it makes it that much easier. And I don't know if that was applicable to anybody else, but these are the 4 lessons that I've been focused on this year. It's success leaves clues, maximize your rest, diversification is not about growth, it's about protection, and then personal branding, making it easier for people to find me. And if any of this was useful to you, or if you think you'll implement any of this, hit the subscribe button, because I'll be posting more about this. This is my entire channel. But I will see you in the next video.